What's up, Raiders? Bionic here. Welcome to today's Raid Shadow Legends video, where we are going to talk about, of course, the next event on the list, which is an Artifact Enhancement, okay? I'm sort of doing this mini-series where we go back and we look at the previous events of this type, we see how harder they have gotten, and hopefully this will shed some light as to how difficult they have become, so you can adapt your strategy. So today's video will also be about that, is how I typically go about an event like this, which is outside of a fusion event. And this is the whole point here, is that I strongly believe that using your resources during fusion events will net you more rewards or possibly better champions in the long run, whether it be rares, epics, or legendaries. If you complete the whole fusion event, I really believe that you should hold off until then. Okay, so let's jump right in. Starting with the ones from last year, we have up here March, then we have April, we then have May, and then it jumps to August. I'm not sure why I have a gap here. Maybe they did not put any for a while. I do believe what happened here is that they changed the strategy, and I'll show why in a second. So they used to be that you get points for every level between certain brackets, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 to 16, and it used to be roughly 3,000 points, which was somewhat doable. But for a free-to-play player like myself, I was only typically able to get to about 460 points without going all out with my silver. Remember, again, I'm always saving for fusion events, so by doing this, it's sort of protecting me. Instead of just going for this one epic tome at that moment, I was instead going to get hopefully a legendary down the road, you know what I mean? So here we have then the sort of revised layout. Then we still get points for every bracket. I think they switched up the points a little bit, but we're still at about 3,000 points for an epic tome. We even have a void charts, two void charts, sorry, for 2,000 points, making it really interesting overall. But then we have this big gap, and then finally we have this new model right here, which not only jumps in difficulty, but also they completely change how it's done. You only get points once you've reached certain milestones. They also added 6-star gear at that point. So I think this was the big change, and now this is what we always see, right? So now it's 6,000 points for 2 void shards, and then it's 4,900 for 1 epic skill tome. So obviously you can see how difficult these have become. Okay, so remember, we're still last year. Let's keep going, where we now have September, we have December, we have January, and then we have February of this year. Okay, so it's now 5,500 points, roughly around that 6,000, kind of the same thing. You're roughly getting the same rewards for the same amount. So depending on how often they are, you can typically get ready for this, right? Like I tend to increase every day 1 piece by 4 tries until I hit 15, and then I hold on to it until the next Artifact Enhancement event, right? And then I complete all of my level 15 gear. That's what I do on most days. But when they're too close to one another, it becomes difficult. It becomes difficult to even compete in any of them. So I do have a strategy for that as well, which I'll cover quickly after this. But as you can see, they're sort of always the same thing now. 5,500 points for 1 void shard. Then we keep going. Here we have the one in January. Same thing. They switch up these rewards here a little bit, but overall it's kind of the same difficulty. But then in February we had one that was a little bit easier, which is nice. We could have gotten a void shard for 2,600 and an epic tome for 3,000 points. So I don't remember if I pushed for this one, but again, if it was events that were close together back to back, I probably didn't, okay, because I don't have that much silver accumulated in between each of these. Okay, let's keep going with the last 4, which are basically March of this year, April, May, and then June. And as you can see, they're almost all created equally. Here's the example of one that I was able to complete. Don't remember if this one was part of a fusion event. Typically not, because you'd have maybe a rare in here, right? But then they're always somewhat the same. 5,500 points for 1 void shard, epic skill tome, and so on and so on. Same thing with this one right here. They do switch these rewards up here a little bit every once in a while, but overall it's all of the same event. Okay, so we can kind of predict this, or we can prepare better for this, because it's always the same thing. And now let's look at the one from today. As you can see, it is the exact same thing. Okay, so what can you do when you are doing an Artifact Enhancement event, which is outside of a fusion event, and let's say you don't have a lot of silver? So that's what we'll cover next. But first, let's quickly talk about the events that are part of the fusion events, okay? And which is why I keep saying save your resources for those times, because at least here you get a champion, you get a rare. In this case, it would have been a Seducer. This is the Kilian Fusion, the first Artifact Enhancement event, okay? So you already have 2,600 points to do the get this rare if you need that rare for the fusion. Even though these rewards are more expensive, overall pushing for this is a must if you want to complete that fusion, right? Same thing here, the second one, 2,600 points to get the Gladiator. So again, you got to save your silver for those specific events. Here we have the Garba Fusions. This one I ended up pushing all the way to the end because I had a lot of silver at that time. I had a lot of gear I wanted to work on. I got my Twin Claw Disciple and my Beast Wrestler for that fusion. And then on this one right here, pushed all the way to Fencer. I had a little bit more, so decided I would push and get at least a rare skill tome. Although this is not really worth it, maybe I should have just stopped there. Okay, so yet again, an example that pushing during the right events is the best thing to do. Alright, and now that I've shown you that you can actually buy a champion with silver, because that's really what it is. If you do the artifact enhancement that is part of a fusion event, you're actually getting a rare. And if you get enough of those rares through that fusion event, then you're effectively fusing an epic. And that might be a really good epic for your account. So again, save your resources or choose your battles. But here's what I do when I'm outside of these fusion events. Let's say right now we're farming the dragon, right? And so you get a lot of pieces. I basically kind of sell everything that's not worth it. What do I mean by worth it? Is a piece like, let's say this right here. I don't think I would ever rank this up all the way to 16. The overall stats are not that great. It really wouldn't help me. It's a set piece that I don't really use. The day set, nobody really uses it. Maybe it has some application, but anyway. So it sells for a decent price, 68,000 silver. I can increase this all the way up to 8 and still sell it for a profit. Okay, so I made a separate video on this. It's the same thing, easy artifact enhancement event points, but now I'm just a little bit more picky. I'm only keeping the sets that sell for a really good price. So here are some examples of the ones from the Dragon tournament. We have the Days set is a really good one. The Frost set is a really good one as well. I probably have some flat stats around here somewhere that I'm waiting to rank up, like these boots right here, right? So I'm going to increase that all the way up to 8 probably and still sell it for a decent profit. Okay, let's keep going. Relentless set is also a decent one. The Toxic set obviously is also a great one. I might have some pieces in here ready to go. But anyway, so you kind of see what I'm doing here, right? I'm ensuring that I still make silver, but I'm at least getting some points before I do. I might be getting a little bit less silver because I could have just sold those pieces right off the bat, but I'm getting, like I said, a couple of extra things from in here, right? Maybe this extra 100 energy in that dragon tournament might give me a better piece, right? And something that will actually be useful, right? These potions are always nice. If I make it to here, then a couple more arena battles, that means I'm increasing my battle haul. Again, for not having spent that much more resources. Okay, so that's really what it is today, guys, is to once again choose your battles, save your silver, because in the long run your silver is buying effectively champions. Seducer was a decent one to have on any account. So now here I am about 45 minutes later, as you can see with my regeneration and the time of the event right here, having made about 400,000 silver using this strategy and gaining a little bit more points by doing this. Okay, so like I said, I only did the pieces that I knew I was going to throw away. Therefore, moving forward, right? If I were to do the pieces that I might hang on to or might eventually level up to 16, then my silver count would go down, so I still have not touched those pieces. But overall, you can see that I'm going for it. There are some pieces that it is going to be at a negative. You are going to be selling at a loss because it's RNG, right? Between level 4 and 8, you don't know. It might just not succeed very fast, but still, overall, if you look at the total of pieces that I've done, you can see that I've moved forward. Okay, guys, so that's going to be it for today. Just again, the strategy that I use when I am in between fusion events. In my opinion, everything revolves around the fusion events because, like I said yesterday, some of the best champions that I have on my account right now are literally the fusion champions. Okay, so thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later.